Typically, when full-line car companies set out to develop a coupe, they start with a sedan from the current lineup, trim 2 doors, and rewrap the package in a sleeker body. A shorter wheelbase is optional. Lexus rolled up that memo and burned it before going to work on the RC. Instead, to form its new coupe's structure, Lexus combined the front clip of the GS sedan, the center section of the old RC convertible, and the rear end of the IS sedan, using adhesives and welding and a fancy technique called laser screw welding, which allows for more frequent tacks and thus greater rigidity. The three-piece approach makes more sense once it's explained. The GS front gives engineers the extra track width they wanted for handling. They deemed these rear sufficient to keep the car's dimensions tidy, and the ISC center section necessary for its inherent stiffness and shorter wheelbase. Compared with the current IS sedan, the RC coupe is roughly 1.5 inches longer, wider, and lower, but with a 2.7-inch shorter wheelbase. The RC F we have here is the hot rod version of the RC, and the car Lexus is using to effectively replace its IS F sedan, which does not have an analog in this new IS generation. Lexus's hypo 4-door will be the GSF, bigger and likely more expensive than the old M3 baiting IS F. But the RC F is not trying to be a direct BMW whatever knockoff. It has its own thing going. The snug cockpit swaddles the driver with information and controls in what seems like an appropriate techno-modern, Tokyo benite design scheme. A high center console features an optional touchpad that is part of the $2,840 navigation and upgraded stereo package, and the instruments showcase a morphing LCD center tack, similar to the LFA's. Nearly everything in the car can be adjusted with the haptic infotainment control pad, but there are also redundant buttons with knobs for volume and tuning, just as in the current IS. The LCD tack changes its appearance between the 4 drive modes Eco, Normal, Sport, and Sport Plus and is flanked by another screen on the left, which displays tire pressures, radio stations, forces, and just about everything else. A smaller analog speedometer lies to the right. Top right, Lexus doesn't simply ape European car interiors but defines its own tech-heavy style. Left, seat designed by H.R. Geiger. There are few occasions in life when we'd say that 467 horsepower isn't enough. This is one of them. While the IS F sold 5.0-litre V8 got thoroughly overhauled for this new RCF. The car weighs 4,048 pounds, 200 plus more than the old sedan. Mass is the RCF's millstone. It has 400 pounds on a BMW M4 and weighs as much as the four-wheel drive Audi RS5. In a three-way drag race, the Beamer walks away, with the F and RS5 keeping pace through the quarter-mile. By 130 miles per hour, the RCF has eked out a nearly 2-second lead on the RS5. Keep your foot in it and the governor abruptly halts acceleration at 171 miles per hour. With all the data crunched, the RCF proves no quicker than the old IS F. Nor is it slower, though. We recorded a 4.3 second 0 to 60 and a quarter-mile time of 12.8 seconds, identical to a 2008 IS F. Identical, too, is the naturally aspirated V8 whale. While muted in the cabin, pedestrians will flinch when the intake's noise flap opens and the camshaft timing changes the engine's rumble into a sweaty roar. Lexus gets credit for adding 51 horsepower to the V8 with something more than a software update and without resorting to forced induction cough, BMW. Titanium valves, all 32 of them, along with a lighter crankshaft and conrods, allowed engineers to lift the redline by 500 revolutions per minute to 7,300. Only the 8,300 revolutions per minute Audi RS5 can rival the F for oral gratification. The M4's turbocharged and overly enhanced soundtrack is no match. If only the RCF were quicker for it. More revs equals more power, but it also requires more air and fuel. Thus, the 2AGS, as the V8 is coded, gets a larger throttle body and higher flow fuel injectors. Max power comes at 7,100 revolutions per minute, while the torque peak of 389 pound-feet, up 18 from the RC F, is available at 4,800 revolutions per minute. That's 400 revolutions per minute earlier than the old engine. Compression also increases to 12.3 to 1, from 11.8 to 1. Enabling the extra power are wider range cam facers, giving the V8 a kin-cycle capability. This improves the RC F's efficiency during cruising and under low loads and gives the RC F a 2 miles per gallon boost in EPA highway testing over the old RC F, to 25 miles per gallon. City fuel economy is unchanged at 16.30. The RC F chugged a gallon of premium every 15 miles during its stay here. All the work that went into the structure is apparent from the first few turns of the wheel. An astonishingly stiff unibody means the cowl never quivers because of the stiff central section's origin as a convertible. The rigid architecture succinctly telegraphs all communication from the chassis, which is both good and bad. Push the front axle past its limit and tire chatter shimmies up the steering column, as it's supposed to. But a mercilessly pitted road sends some shudders to the spines of passengers as well. The car feels as supple as a Lexus S on a smooth road, something the rigid, tense M4 can't claim. The F's seats come stacked with large bolsters in the front buckets, appropriate for a car capable of 0.95 grams on the skid pad. Considering the Michelin Pilot Super Sports wrapping 19-inch forged BBS wheels, that's slower than we expected, but the car comes set up with a healthy amount of understeer. Lexus admits that it didn't want to build an intimidating car. Its goal was upgraded performance coupe, fun for all skill levels, and on that it has delivered. Despite the 4 drive modes, the steering offers only normal and sport options. The latter, active in Sport and Sport Plus, adds heft but no feedback. Like a stubborn toddler, the wheel communicates clearly only when its diaper is full, when the tires have gone over the edge. Transmission logic will adapt to a particular driving style, but the 8-speed auto, another RC F carryover, responds to manual inputs without protest. Robust 15.0-inch front rotors and 13.6-inch rear rotors do an impeccable job of erasing speed without fade, though we'd prefer a pedal that wasn't muddy feeling at the top. A 154-foot 70-toe aero stopping distance is just longer than the M4's. Considering the RC F carries extra poundage, that's a commendable performance. Unlike its curb weight, the RC F's base price has gone down, and at $63,325 it is $1,200 less than the 2014 RC F. Our test car came with the performance package, which is a big investment at $5,500. With it you get an M4-style carbon fiber roof, carbon rear wing, and a torque vectoring differential. The diff, a first for Toyota, has 3 settings independent of the drive modes: normal, slalom, and track. Slalom offers the most aggressive torque swings. The diff effectively mitigates understeer but works only when you are on the throttle. Unadvertised is the package's 50-pound weight penalty. The carbon fiber pieces save about 15 pounds, but the unit, with its electric motors and clutch packs, is 66 pounds heavier than the standard Tucson Limited slip diff. In the ultra bright molten pearl paint, the RC F looks more brash and busy than flowing and elegant. It leans hard on the Japanese comic book robot superhero aesthetic. And indeed, its power-to-weight ratio is the only thing keeping the F from being an actual superhero. It may not have the outright thrust or balance of an M4, or even the style of an RS5, but the new F has a personality all its own. a Japanese Camaro with lots of buttons and displays and a boisterous voice. The RC F made its debut in 2007 as a fast but otherwise unexceptional Lexus, though quiet improvements meant that by 2011 the car was near the top of its class. 4 years later, the RC F enters the market firmly planted there.